far, so good. Hey, that's...
That blue hedgehog again, of all places.
I found you, Faker.
Faker? I think you're the fake hedgehog around here. You're comparing yourself to me? Huh. You're not even good enough to be my...
I'll make you eat those words! Alright, welcome back to Sonic Adventure 2, where we are now fighting Shadow the Hedgehog. The cool new character in this game. The character that would in no way become Flanderized and completely miss the point of his original appearance after this point. A character that definitely should have kept making appearances in the series. A character we all love, who will get his own game that we will also all love.
Do you know who I am?
I'm the Juggernaut. Very easy fight. They're still not as, you know, in-depth as a fight like that should be, but they're leagues above the ones in Sonic Adventure 1.
Shadow, what are you doing? Hurry and get back here right now before the island blows up with you on it!
Blows up?
So going back to something I was talking about at the end of the last video, about how this game really does feel like a big, grand adventure, I was never quite able to put my finger on why, like, one particular thing in this game and why I love this game so much. This is going to sound weird to say in a Sonic game, or just in a game in general. This game is paced very well. It's a pretty short game, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels long, but it doesn't feel too long. And I think a lot of that is just due to the way that the story and the gameplay, like, coalesce with each other so well. There are a lot of games, even just in the Sonic series. In fact, the next game, I would probably say, is a very good example of that. Same with Sonic 06. It's clear that they probably made the levels first and then fit them into the story later on. Whereas in this game, they are completely linked up. They probably developed the story and the levels side by side. You know, Sonic escapes from a military transport and falls down to a city. The next level starts with him escaping from the city. You know, Sonic gets thrown in jail, they break him out, he does Metal Harbor, which is him escaping from the jail. And now we're still on Prison Island, we're just making our way out of it here. It all feels really connected, and that's really great. And another thing that really helps this game, as opposed to even Sonic Adventure 1, which is a game I think is better than this, it doesn't share levels. Like, Shadow goes through a level that's similar to this, but it's not this exact level. You know, Eggman and Tails might go through similar looking areas, but they're not the same level. It really makes everything feel really well paced. You know, you're not going back and like, oh, I'm doing this level again. It's not Sonic 06 where every single character has to go through Kingdom Valley and do the exact same thing each time. So I think that's one of the strengths of this game that I was never really able to put my finger on before, but I think that's one of the things that this game really excels at, is the pacing and the way that the gameplay and the story coalesce so well next to each other. And why I think the story does feel important is because you're playing through the story, as opposed to other games where, like, oh, we're suddenly in a casino level. Why? I don't know, we just are. This was scary. I don't know how I survived that, but that was very, very scary.
Yes!
Also, I'm sure you can tell by now, but don't expect expert level play from me. I've played this game probably like dozens and dozens of times, probably like 30 times throughout my childhood and my adult life. I've never gotten good at the game, so don't expect to be seeing A ranks on anything other than the treasure hunting levels. Occasionally. Because as they go on, the levels are going to start getting worse. This is probably the last of the good Knuckles levels.
This place sure feels haunted. There's no time to lose. I have to hurry and find the Master Emerald.
You ready? I ain't gonna let it get to me. I'm just gonna... Okay. And we're at Pumpkin Hill. You ready? I ain't gonna let it get to me. I'm just gonna creep down to Pumpkin Hill. I got to find my lost piece. The great emerald whose power allows me to feel. Oh, what a good song! I love Pumpkin Hill. Pumpkin Hill is maybe the only saving grace of the treasure hunting levels. As I said, they start getting very complicated. You can only track one emerald shard at a time. And that just makes for a bad combination. Makes for some very bad gameplay that I do not enjoy. And Pumpkin Hill is about as big as these levels should ever get. They shouldn't have gotten any bigger than this level or any more complicated than this level. You can use the monitors that are around the level to give you hints, just like Tikal in Sonic Adventure 1, but they do decrease your score if you use them. Another thing that is worse about this, just the Dreamcast version in particular, in the battle version, there's actually one thing that they do to kind of fix the treasure hunting levels, which is that you could see I was right in front of that emerald, but there's no way to know that I was, because in the GameCube version, you get an exclamation mark, and hey, there's Big the Cat. You get an exclamation point above your head when you're like right in front of or right above one of the emerald shards. In the Dreamcast version, that does not exist. There's no rumble on the controller. You just kind of have to guess, and when they're in the ground, good luck. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's how this level ends, actually, is with one in the ground, and I'm not quite able to figure out where it is because there's no exclamation point. But yeah, the emerald hunting is by far, without a doubt, the worst part of this entire game. If they had just... I mean, they still have to deal with the fact that these levels are way too complicated at some times. You know, just a fix would be to simply let me track every single emerald at the same time. Not just one at a time, which is complete bull honky. Is this it? This might be it. No, it's just in there. But yeah, I think this does end with me. See, first off, again, going back to the tracking multiple emeralds thing, is that I was clearly next to another one, but I couldn't look for it because I didn't know it was there. Yeah, this is the one where it's like, it could be literally anywhere around here. I just have to start digging and hope that I get the exact spot that the emerald is hiding at. Otherwise, we're going to be here digging through this entire area indefinitely. And I forgot that there was no exclamation point, so that's why I was kind of like fiddling around there. But after Pumpkin Hill, all the levels are going to get really bad. In fact, the very next Knuckles level is maybe his worst, so look forward to that.
Yeah, this is perfect.
If you say so, Knuckles. If you say so.
Citizens of Earth, lend me your ears and listen to me very carefully. My name is Dr. Eggman, the world's greatest scientist, and soon to be the world's greatest ruler. Now witness the beginning of the greatest empire of all time.
This is such a cool move on Eggman's part, but I really wish that they would show the result of this in future games. Like, every time you see the moon in a game after this point, it's just like, oh, it's the other side of the moon, or they just ignore it.
Look! Half of the moon is gone?
Eggman! Oh, that creep never gives up.
But how did he manage to harness all that energy?
It's got to be the Chaos Emeralds. Yeah, that's the reason they were looking for him. Tails?
The Chaos Emeralds are like magnets. They have the power to attract each other. I can use that to find my Eggman.
The three of you, freeze! Put your hands up in the air and get off the ground!
I'll take care of the police while you try to find a way out of here. Find Eggman.
Got it!
The three of you? That means me too! Hey, wait!
I do really appreciate that a significant portion of this game is Sonic fighting the cops. Sonic once again proving that the only blue life that matters is his own. We got an 8-year-old child just running away from the cops who were trying to bomb him. You know, the besieging military just trying to kill an 8-year-old boy. It's alright. You wonder why my generation doesn't like cops. It's because of this game right here. And for other actual reasons, but... yeah, this is, again, this just... not to spoil anything, but this game is 20 years old, and every single person on the planet has done a Let's Play of this game. Including myself, who's already done one that was incomplete, but... this is basically just Shadow's level. They just kind of fiddled with it a little bit to make it Tails. And that's why I really do feel like Tails levels were kind of just tacked on. I have a theory, and I've had a theory for a while. My theory is that there weren't originally going to be hero side story and villain side story. It was going to be one big story, and the primary playable characters probably would have been Sonic, Shadow, Eggman, and Rouge. And I think Tails and Knuckles were added in later, because they realized that they could do it. Specifically, Knuckles is probably the least important character to the story. I think he still would have been here, because he is important at the end, but I don't think he would have had playable levels. And Tails, I think, is the most obvious that their levels were, like, just reused assets from other stages. And, you know, Tails is important to the story, so I think he still would have been there and probably would have, you know, served the same purpose that he does, but I don't think he would have been in a mech. That's my theory, anyway. I don't know. I have no evidence to back myself up there, but that's just how I feel. This always trips me up every single time I play it, so I'm so glad that I remembered it this time. That you have to get that little switch there, so you can actually walk across those platforms. Because if you don't do that, you're just going to keep getting in a loop here. And you're going to go across those, and they're going to drop, and then you're not going to be able to cross that area. One positive thing I will say about Tails' level, well, two positive things. He has some of my favorite music in the game. Some of his levels have my favorite songs in them. And two, he gets the hover ring, bracelet, whatever you want to call it, much earlier on than Eggman does, and Eggman needs it in a couple of his key levels early on, but yeah, Tails gets it in his second level. I want to say Eggman gets it in his, like, third or fourth. How are you going to say an 8-year-old boy is wanted by the police like that? Yeah, I think there's some other slight differences. Like, I think some of the, like, advertisements in the Dreamcast version are different. than they are in the GameCube version. Like, I know the Chow and Space stuff, I think, is different. I don't think... When we fought Hotshot, there was a Phantasy Star Online poster. I don't think that's in the GameCube version. Might be wrong, but I don't think it's in there. This probably is, though, my favorite Tails level. It's the only one that I feel like is any kind of significant, like, cool location or anything like that. This one I actually have fun playing. It's his subsequent levels that I'm just like, nah, that's okay. I don't need to do this.
I did it!
Yeah, at the worst, Tails levels are like, oh, this is bad, but at, you know, for the most part, they're fine. But they clearly, in my opinion, feel out of place.
I didn't expect the inside of the mines to be like this. This is gonna be tougher than I thought.
So this is probably Knuckles' worst level. Rouge, I think, gets the absolute worst level in the game. But Knuckles really only has this one. Other than that, they're mostly fine. But this one is just so annoying. But first off, what we're gonna do, besides pick up this emerald that we're already tracking, is go grab, I think, the only upgrade that is optional that I'm going to grab in the entire game. This might be optional for Knuckles levels, but later on in the game it actually is going to be very, very important. Like, literally, I don't think there's a part of this game that you would be able to complete if you don't get the air necklace. The final stage of the game, Cannon's Core, I think is probably unplayable as Knuckles if you don't get this. Which I remember as a kid I found out the hard way. I got to that part and was like, I literally cannot beat this. So you gotta very quickly make your way over here. You're probably gonna start running out of air, though. You should have just enough time to get up there. There we go. One of the things that I really hate about this game, both Sonic Adventures are guilty of this, so it's not just this one. By the way, once you get the air necklace, just restart the level. It's so much easier. Is that the more upgrades you get, the dumber your character starts to look in-game and in cutscenes. And I hate, like, towards the end of the game, if you get every single upgrade, required or otherwise. Specifically, like, Knuckles, he's wearing, like, sunglasses. He has what look like George Foreman grills on his hands. It's not a good look. And I really hate that. I've always wanted there to be, like, an option to turn that off in cutscenes, but that is not the case. That's why I'm always, like, wanting a remake of Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. I think they could both benefit from, like, just minor changes. You know, Sonic Adventure 1 is in my top 10 games of all time. I love that game dearly. I have so many memories of it, and it's one of the few games from my childhood that I don't think has aged poorly. You know, some aspects have, but those are the things that you can change. And Sonic Adventure 2 is another one where I think there's a lot of really minor things that you can change to make the game, like, even better in current times. You know, maybe realize that you don't need the hunting stuff. Just get it out of here. Leave. Please don't be in the game anymore. No, I think if they just did what they did in Sonic Adventure 1, like I've been saying, and made it so you could track all the Emerald Shards at once, it would vastly improve it. But you'd still have to deal with the fact that the level design, I think, is a little too complex sometimes. Or make the emeralds less random. Because, I'm not gonna lie, when I was playing Mad Space for recording this, I tried looking up a guide. I tried looking up a guide of, like, literally, I'm on top of this thing, I've digged around in every single area, where is this emerald? And I tried looking it up, like, looking at the hints, looking up the hint online, there is not a whole lot of resource for, like, where the emeralds are located. There's not a good guide anywhere on the internet for how to find the emeralds. So if you make, like, less of them in more fixed positions, I think it would improve the experience quite a bit. But again, this is a gameplay style that I don't really even like in this game, so I wouldn't be, you know, too upset if they just got rid of it or completely streamlined it. And you know what? We're in Aquatic Mine. I'll tell this story again. I don't know why I always think of this every time I play this level, but I remember vividly playing this level of this game, replaying it, when I found out that Saddam Hussein was killed. And I don't know why I always remember that. Every time I think of this level, I think of dead Saddam Hussein. So, I don't know why. Maybe it's because I wish I was dead.
Rats.
That could very well be the case. Again, another one of the saving graces of the Knuckles levels is that he does have really quite incredible music. The instrumentals are great. Some of the Hunted P lyrics, are kind of silly, but they enhance it. I love it. You gotta love it. Apparently Hunted P is kind of a weird guy. I think there's some controversy about him, but... Yeah, see, again, there's no exclamation point. There's no way I would have known to dig there. But that's it for this video, and I'll see you next time.
Not too bad.